Hello everyone, I'm Janet Salmons. I'd like to talk with you about visual online interviews. The focus of this module is on design. So I'll talk a little bit about how to align the purpose of your study with the process you would like to use in a visually rich online interview and technology choices you might make. So first, let's think about the interview. Typically, an interview is a collection of questions posed with words and responded to with words. But as Michael Pike suggests, perhaps not all questions need to be made in words, nor must they be answered with words. Visual research offers us the potential to think through ways to convey our questions visually and invite participants to respond visually. In thinking through the design of such a study, we need to begin with some fundamental questions. What kinds of visual interactions do we want to have with participants, and how will those interactions relate to and help us achieve the purpose of the study? What types of visual data will help to answer the questions? And how will the visual data we collect through these interactions be used? Do we intend to view it and transcribe the visuals into words? Or are we going to retain the visual nature of that data and include excerpts, clips, or screenshots in reports, publications, or discussions about the study? The answers to these fairly basic questions, but interrelated ones, will influence not only the overall research design and plan, but also the kinds of agreements we'll need to have with our participants. The typology of online visual interview methods shows at a glance a number of ways we can exchange visuals online and how those kinds of exchanges might be used in an online interview. So first, we can easily transmit visual images online. We can send the files, we can send links to files for drawings, pictures, media, uh, graphics of all kinds. And then within the interview, we can view those visual representations of the research phenomenon, and we can look at them either in advance of the interview to prepare or during the interview. We can navigate a virtual environment or a physical environment. So we could jump into a virtual world or a game to conduct the interview, or we could use locative technologies or webcam or video cameras to allow for documentation of experiences in the physical world that allow us to see the environment the research participants are living with or their communities. We can, within the interview, generate visual images. So we can use shared whiteboards or shared applications to actually create or annotate images that represent the experience participants have with the research phenomenon. So we can combine these approaches in a variety of ways and then use them within the interview process. We may find that we're talking about very abstract ideas or relationships between concepts that are better presented in a graphic or mind map. So we might use visual communication to get those complex ideas across. Then within an interview, we might use visual communication for the purpose of elicitation. So we're providing stimulus that will draw out a different kind of response, provide the basis and springboard for a rich conversation with the research participants. Then we can go even a step further and not only elicit responses with an extant image, but also to use those kinds of images we can generate to allow participants to describe visually their experience with the phenomenon at hand. So with elicitation, using graphics, we might be able to map out options and relationships, use those for discussion, and use tools like these shared whiteboard highlight tools to point out particular relationships and discuss them. Or we could use photographs, either those generated by the researcher or by the participant, to represent some aspect of the phenomenon, some relationship between key concepts, um, or another way to think about the research phenomenon that would help us to create an opening for an in-depth discussion with the participants. Again, we can then take a step further and then not only view those images, but actually use these kinds of tools to annotate them, to highlight important ideas, and to add the experience of the participant immediately and dynamically within the interview to go even deeper into their experiences and perceptions. Now, each technology we might use to communicate online um, offers a different way to use visuals. So in a text-based exchange, text chat or messaging, while we may be exchanging questions and answers with words, we also have the ability to send picture files back and forth, or perhaps even take pictures within the interview experience and send them along. In a video conference, we can see the participant. We can look at artifacts together, or simply have that real conversational exchange that mirrors a natural conversation we'd have offline. In a web conferencing space such as this one, we can use both text-based and video conference features together with the use of shared applications, web tours, or other kinds of visual tools. And an immersive virtual world or game, we can actually navigate existing virtual environments or create simulations or representations of the research phenomena that might be a springboard for a rich conversation. We could combine with these technologies some locative or mapping tools that would allow us to add a geographic dimension to the interview, perhaps locating the place where particular experiences occur, or showing something that relates to the location as it in the research phenomenon. As we consider these decisions for the selection of the technology and the setting used to collect the data and determine the interview style, the e-interview research framework reminds us that those choices are also made within the context of the entire research design. So we need to make sure that the choices we're making really do connect to the research questions and purpose for the study. We need to be sure that the choices we're making to use online interviews make sense with the methods, methodologies, and overall questions, and that the approaches we'd like to use will work given the sample population we want to engage, whether they have the access and skills needed to participate in the kind of interview we're trying to design. We need to think about our own roles and positions as researchers in the interview, and then throughout address the ethical issues that may potentially arise with this kind of exchange. So the choices we make for the visual interview fit within this entire framework of the research design. If you'd like to know more, please keep in touch. You can visit my website or find me on the social media sites. I look forward to hearing about the visual interviews you design